What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Flow State with yours truly, Harry Mack. In this episode, we're going to talk about Australia tour, which I just got back from. We're going to talk about overcoming our limiting self-beliefs. We're going to talk about how to not swear in front of kids when you're freestyling in the street, something very relatable to everybody listening, I'm sure. And we're also going to talk about sobriety and how it affects the creative process. I'll react to a fan-submitted freestyle. I'll react to myself. I'll close it out how I always do, with some bars. Y'all know what it is. Flow State, baby. Let's go.
This is for my flow state. Add it, yeah. Kyle know we back at it. Ain't it crazy how the mind works magic? We gon' show you the method behind the madness, cause this is for my flow state.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Flow State with yours truly, Harry Mack. Very excited to be back in the mix with y'all. Freshly home from Australia. I got my man Sam at the Flow Station. How you feeling, my man?
I'm good, dude. I'm good.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Me as well. I actually feel great today. I got a full night's sleep last night, which is amazing. The jet lag from Australia, crazy. It's like a full swap, right? So it's like our days are their nights and their nights are our days, obviously. So adjusting to that was crazy when we got to Australia. But luckily we had a full week to kind of get acclimated. Adjusting on the way back, for some reason, was, I don't know if it was harder because it was hard to acclimate when we were out there, but it was at least equally as hard. And for whatever reason, like, the last 2 nights prior to this one, I just like barely slept.
Same.
Like I was up until like 3 or 4 a.m. Then I would finally fall asleep and wake up at like 8. But like I knew I had to get up. It wasn't even like I could just sleep in. It was like my body was so confused that it was just like, oh, I guess like we don't really sleep anymore. You know? So yeah, dude, 2 nights in a row of just maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep, which is super unusual for me at this phase in life. Like I talk often about how I try to get my 8 hours whenever I can. And usually it's not that hard to get the 8 hours. Even if I stay up late, it's usually very easy for me to get them on the back end. Like I can sleep in, you know? But yeah, dude, it was wild. And so as a result, you know, ended up feeling a little run down, have a little bit of a cold. You guys might be able to hear it in my voice. I have my low baritone for this session. But I actually slept for like 10 hours last night. So even though my voice sounds a little messed up, I feel amazing.
Oh, yeah. That was the first time I really felt the effects of jet lag, to be honest. It doesn't really affect me, but Australia, that like 180 degree, like perfect flip.
Yeah.
Last night was my first night kind of getting back to normal too.
Dude, I feel it. Well, what's crazy is even when you feel like, okay, even when you feel like you're aligned with it, as in like you're at least going to bed at their nighttime, you know? Yeah. So you're actually like sleeping at night. So that's cool. But that's just like the tip of the iceberg. Like the body is still so confused because the whole time you're sleeping is when you normally are awake, like eating lunch, having your meals and stuff, you know, and like going about your business. And then the whole time that you're awake and eating and doing your regular stuff, your body's like, we're supposed to be asleep right now. Like, why are you eating a burger?
You can't fake it.
Yeah, exactly. You can't fake it. The internal systems just take however long they take to get caught up. So it really is a trip.
How was it though, dude? You were there for we were there for like a month. You did a bunch of shows.
Yeah, we were there for a month. It was like a week to get acclimated up top and then 3 weeks of shows, 7 shows total. So a bit of a shorter tour compared to what we're used to in the US and Europe. But dude, it was so sick, man. I mean, I had a blast. First time out there in Australia, 6 shows in Australia and then 1 show in Auckland, New Zealand. Just awesome, dude. Like I mean, what can I even say? Like the shows were hype. Lots of incredible moments at the shows. I do, as you know, as many of you know, a mostly improvised show. You know, 95% of the material on stage for our set, which is about an hour and a half, is completely made up on the spot. And so, yeah, there were so many dope moments, man. So many memorable moments on stage. And, you know, everything that I had heard about Australia and the vibes turned out to be true. I had always heard that, it's such an awesome place. It's so much natural beauty. The people are so chill. It's laid back. You know, the people are so friendly and warm and welcoming. And I can affirm, at least in my experience being in Australia and New Zealand, it's totally true, man. Like, it was just good vibes through and through.
Agreed. It was just kind of easy in terms of like getting adjusted to just life there. I don't know. Sometimes it's a little bit more of like a culture shock where you just I just felt like day one there, we were just kind of chilling. All the staffs at the venues were really nice. It was dope, man.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I agree. It was easier in some ways than going to Europe, you know, even though Europe is closer. When we're in Europe, it's like, we're in different countries for every show, you know? So we're always going through customs, like at every stage, and
Different
like checking
currencies.
the gear through customs. Yeah, different currencies, different plugs and like stuff, even just like mid-tour. So, I mean, the cool thing about Australia, and we were in New Zealand as well, so there was just a tiny bit of you know, changing actual countries, but for the most part, we're all within the country of Australia. So once you get there, it's sort of similar to touring in the US, just in the sense that like, okay, we're just in this one big massive country, and once we make it in, we're smooth sailing. So yeah, dude, no, it was great, man. I had a blast out there. Can't wait to come back. Great energy from the fans out there. And it's been a long time coming, you know, I mean, for years, like even during COVID and lockdown, when I was doing all the happy hour streams and stuff, I would often have like community guests on the stream who were based in Australia, you know, and we've seen in the metrics too for the videos, like so many of the people that are fans of the content that we create are in Australia. So it was awesome to be able to, you know, connect with those people in the flesh, man. Feel the vibes out there.
Do you have any Australian moments? Did you see any roos?
Oh yeah, dude. Well, I did. I saw some kangaroos. I saw some koalas, not in nature, which would have been really cool. Like I wish I would have had time to like go to a nature reserve or something like that. But we went to the Melbourne Zoo when we were in Melbourne. So, you know, I had to go to a zoo in a major city to see the wildlife. But it was still totally awesome to see. I saw some Kangaroo Island kangaroos, which are kangaroos that only exist on Kangaroo Island.
Whoa. Well,
excuse me.
You weren't on Kangaroo Island, were you? So
no, that's just what they have at the Melbourne Zoo. Oh, yeah,
no?
right. Yeah, they got to update their signage.
As soon as you're off the island, you're no longer
Yeah, only exist on Kangaroo Island and in the Melbourne Zoo. But so they're smaller kangaroos and they have longer hair, so they look kind of funny.
That's wild.
But we actually got to see one hop, which I felt grateful for that because it only happened once, and then we stayed watching them for like 30 more minutes, and not one of them things hopped.
What were they doing? Like laying down or?
Yeah, just eating, lounging
normal?
around, kind of like, yeah, walking normally, like crawling normally. But when we first got to the little area that they were in, one of them was just like, don't, like 8 or 9 times.
There it is.
And I was like, holy shit, they really do it. And then I stayed for another half hour, being like, when are they going to do it again? So that was cool. And the koala was even cooler because I learned that koalas sleep for like 18 to 20 hours a day.
What a life.
And so, yeah, dude, which is crazy. And so when we first saw the koala, of course, it was sleeping, you know, it's just like perched in its part of the tree, just like passed out. Still cool to see. Walked around the rest of the zoo, came back to it like 45 minutes later, and it was awake. It was awake for us, man, because the person was in the little cage area, like giving it some food and like tidying up its space, like making sure it was okay. That's probably why it was awake.
Yeah.
Probably
just
didn't even
wakes
want to
up.
be awake. Like
Wakes up 30 seconds, opens his mouth, eats, crashes.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. I was so curious, like, why this animal sleeps so long. So I actually looked it up. And it turns out it's because eucalyptus, which we all know is its, like, only food source, you know, or at least, like, its primary food source by a massive margin. It's, like, very nutritionally incomplete. It's, like, not very nutritionally valuable. So that's all it eats. And so as a result, like, it has almost no energy. So it only moves when it absolutely has to. That's what the article said. It was like koalas only move when it is absolutely necessary. That's why they try to find little perfect like perches in trees. And then they just like keep eating this food that's like not that good for them and doesn't give them any real energy. And then they just sleep all the time. And in my head, I was like, dude, can't they just like find a new food source? Like are koalas just living like massively below their potential?
Yeah.
But, you know, that's probably just like the egotistical human trying to be like, I can solve this for you. You know, like obviously like nature has like organically arrived at this place where the koala just subsists off this like nutritionally not very good food and it just sleeps most of the time. And that's just how it works, you know? So I don't need to fix that. But I still wonder if like koalas could like develop a complex language if they just like found a different plant.
Give one a power bar and it's just like sprinting around.
Yeah.
Man, maybe they just like that life, dog. They've tried the more nutritious stuff and had a whole full day, and they're just like, dog, put me back in the tree.
That's true, man. Like maybe they're doing it right. You know, like there's a lot of talk now about like slow productivity and like, you know, we don't have to be on this grind 24/7. And I'm really starting to resonate with that. Actually, I got a lot of that out in Australia. I was like, yo, this is cool out here, man. It's similar to the US in many ways. I felt like culturally and vibe-wise when I was out there, but it's different in that sense. I felt like it was definitely slowed down. It wasn't like that, like, you know, in the States, it's like you got to be productive. You got to be working harder. You got to be getting shit done, pack your day, optimize. And out there it was a little more laid back to my view.
There was a lot of times or several times at least, that I would like roll up to a restaurant that I found online.
Yeah.
And the hours, it's open. And like, they're closed.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, I'm off living life a little bit. Or then like the hours were just kind of chill. Like I'd end up at a place later than, was listed online. And it was relaxed like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Good vibes. Shout out to Australia. Man, it was a great time. Hopefully I'll be remembering how to sleep normally again soon, and my voice will come back. But
some eucalyptus, dog.
That's what I need, dude. Bring me some eucalyptus now. I think it's mildly hallucinogenic too, so the koalas just really maxing and relaxing.
They're fine.
Yeah, they're doing great. They see the truth.
What's going on, y'all? Hope you're loving this episode so far. We'll get right back into it in just a second. Before we do, want to let y'all know about this swaggy Flow State merch we got going on. Look at this. Big print on the back, red and yellow vibes. Also got this neon green, blue vibe. Beautiful. And both colorways also available as a white t-shirt. I mean, come on, man. This shit is fire. Make sure you cop it. HarryMackOfficial.com. That's where you go. Thank you guys so much for the support. Peace.
Okay, dope. So as always, we have some wonderful questions submitted from our community out there. So we want to answer some of these questions and tap in with y'all. So first question comes in from Coley. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Shout out to Coley. They say, you mentioned that it took your friend to push you off the deep end by asking you to freestyle while driving, which then became your first viral video. This is true. How did your limiting beliefs shift in that moment? And do you have any tips for how to overcome negative self-talk / limiting beliefs? This is a great question. Thank you so much for asking this, Coley. Yeah, I actually, I talked about this a little bit on the Contra episode. And we were talking about this concept where it's kind of like there's 3 pillars to being successful as a human being. So there's your skills, there's your traits, like your personality traits, and then there's your personal beliefs. And so if all 3 of those things are aligned and like working in your benefit, then there's no limit to how far you can take it in life, right? But if any one of those 3 things, if either your skills, your personality traits, or your personal beliefs are bottlenecked in some way, it's going to hold you back. It doesn't matter how advanced the other 2 pillars are. You're only going to be able to go so far without all 3 being really aligned. And so I think that really applies here. And I'm somebody who can really speak to this from personal experience because, I'm somebody where for so long, like my skills were very advanced, right? And let me just also explain this a little bit more. Like, what are these 3 things anyway? What are we talking about? So skills, that's pretty obvious. Like just talking about it, and it can apply to anything, but just bringing it into my world and talking about freestyling, the skills are like my ability to freestyle, right? So like my understanding of rhythm, my musicality, and even just getting nitty gritty with it, like the setup punchline, multisyllabic rhyming, ABBA, understanding rhyme schemes, understanding bars and musical phrasing to do a 16-bar verse, understanding song form, and on and on and on. We can get as granular as you want to get, but those are basically the skills involved in me being able to freestyle. So that's what we mean when we say skills. When we say traits, it's talking about, for example, like being ambitious, right? That's a personality trait that you may or may not cultivate in your life. Or, being a hard worker or being a good listener or, these are sort of traits that you can cultivate in your life. And at any given time, you may or may not have the positive personality traits that would be helpful to you. And to be sure, I still have many that I have not yet acquired that would probably be really helpful if I could acquire them, right? So it's kind of like a lifelong journey. You don't just flip a switch at some point and now you have all these great personality traits that are serving you. It's not that easy, right? It takes a lot of work to develop focus, right? That's another like really valuable trait that you may or may not have. And also, it's not so black and white as you either have it or you don't. It's like you have a certain ability to focus for a certain amount of time. And then beyond that, it becomes really challenging, right? That's one that I can personally relate to a lot. My brain likes to be everywhere at once. I love to free associate and jump from thing to thing. So to really focus like with laser sharp precision for a long time is challenging for me. So that's like a trait that I try to work at and cultivate so that I can have better focus, which sort of serves me on my journey as a human being. So that's what we mean when we say traits. And then when it comes to personal beliefs, that's kind of like, that's the big one that Coley is asking about here, where it's like, one example is like, do you have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, right? A fixed mindset says, I am who I am. It is what it is. I'm good at what I'm good at. I'm bad at what I'm bad at. It's always been that way, and it's probably always going to be that way, right? That's a fixed mindset, which is obviously very limiting. A growth mindset, which is what I try to cultivate, right, and talk about often, is the belief that you can get better at anything. All it takes is, focus and effort and experience and time, right? So if you're willing to put that effort in, you can get better at absolutely anything. And obviously you want to be, I hesitate to say realistic about this, and I hesitate to say you want to be realistic because so often people say that at the wrong time, like you're sharing your dreams with someone and they're like, oh, be realistic, I hate that because I think we all have the potential to do so much more than we realize. But when I say, you can get better at anything that you focus on, I mean, I'm 99.9999% positive that I cannot play in the NBA, right? Especially, I'm 34. So, but even if I had that dream as a kid, I think it's incredibly unlikely that I would be able to do that. But I 110% believe that if I wanted to get better at basketball, I could start working on it. And in a year's time, if I focused and practiced every day, I would be much better at basketball than I am right now, right? So that's what the growth mindset is all about. And so that's what we're talking about when we say there's these three sort of pillars, right? So it's the skills, the personality traits, and the personal beliefs. If any one of them is bottlenecked, then you can't go where you're trying to go in life. So, for me, I'm someone who for years, like I had the skills. I've been playing music since I was a tiny little kid. I've been playing the drums since I was 10, writing rhymes since I was 10, and trying to freestyle since around then, roughly when I was 10 or 11 years old. Super passionate, which is like a trait that I had, right? Like super hardworking. I love to practice, because it brought me so much joy and was very therapeutic for me. So it wasn't hard for me to work on the drums or work on rapping, so I had that. And I had a lot of the skills. I had a lot of the traits that would be needed to be a great musician and to put myself out there and do it professionally, which was always my dream. What I didn't have was the personal belief. And that was the bottleneck to the whole equation. It was like I had self-esteem issues. I didn't have a very high view of myself when I was, in my 20s. I didn't think it was realistic. There's that word again but this time in a toxic way. I didn't think it was realistic for me to be like a professional MC. Like that's who I am. That's what I do full time. I was like, man, that seems like a pipe dream. Like how could I ever make that work? And I've talked about this quite a bit, but I was sort of stuck in this kind of really negative cycle, right? Where it was like, I had this low self-esteem issue going on, which a lot of people have. All of us struggle with our self-esteem to one degree or another, but, some worse than others. And, so I didn't feel that great about myself. And so then I would use substances, alcohol, marijuana, et cetera, to kind of cope with that negative feeling, and they would temporarily make me feel more comfortable and more confident in who I was, which was great. But then on the other side of that, they were causing me to sleep in really late, wake up hungover. I had a lot of brain fog. And then, when you're going through that, you're actually not showing up able to do the work that you need to do to get where you want to go. So then it's this really messed up cycle where you're like not doing the things that you should be doing because you're hungover and tired and have the brain fog. And then you're like, And that gives fuel to those negative voices in your head where it's like, oh, you're lazy, oh, you're a piece of shit. You're not even working at your goals. Like, you don't even care. And none of that is true, but it's just part of this sort of vicious cycle that you're stuck in. And it's this like, you're just fueling that fire. And so then, now I feel really shitty about myself, so I better get drunk, and on and on and on. So I was sort of stuck in that negative space. So even though I had tons of skills, right? Like I could freestyle even back then, like really well, and I was a good drummer too. And I had so many of the skills that I needed to succeed. I even had a lot of the traits. I had them, even if I wasn't able to access them for other reasons, like I just mentioned. But what I didn't have was the personal belief. So the first video that you mentioned, the Bounce House video where I'm driving down Sunset Boulevard, that was for me the catalyst that showed me, you can do this. you know? And I've told the story a bunch of times. So, but basically that video got 100,000 views overnight when we posted it. And it was sort of my introduction to YouTube. No one had really seen Harry Mack on YouTube prior to that. And so for the first video to just get 100,000 views, I was like, holy shit, I need to get over myself and I need to do this. And, you know, there's this thing where it's like, if you look at me on YouTube, it's like, okay, your first video was December 2016. Your first really viral video was February 2017. 2 months time. It's like you exploded out of nowhere kind of thing, right? It's like, well, yeah, kind of, because everything else was just rearing and ready to go. Like the skills were just like, okay, yeah, we've been ready. The traits were like, yeah, dog, you know how to dig in and work on your shit. You know how to commit. But the beliefs were just way down here, so I just stayed stuck. And then as soon as I saw that video get 100,000 views, I was like, holy shit. And then suddenly the personal beliefs were like, yeah, I'm a rapper now. I'm doing this. And then it was just like, let's go. And so maybe some of you watching this can relate to, you know, part of this in your own way. You know, if you assess your life and think about like, you know, what's the part that is maybe bottlenecking my success? You know, and what's the part that I need to work on? Because for other people, they have the personal beliefs. They know they're great and they know that they can do what they've always wanted to do, right? Some people have just that they have those beliefs somehow like, you know, embedded in them and they've always had that, you know? They have that confidence and they know who they are and who they're meant to be. And they might have the traits too. They know how to work hard, you know, they know how to listen to other people. They work really well with teams, et cetera, et cetera. They have all these positive traits, but maybe they just haven't put the work in to develop their skills yet. And that's the bottleneck, right? Because you could have all the positive personal beliefs and all the great character traits in the world, but if you don't have any skills, you know, it's not going to work, right? You're only going to be able to take it so far. So, that's kind of my thoughts on this. And in your question in terms of like tips to overcome negative self-talk and limiting beliefs. I mean, I think it's tough because for me, I had this thing happen where this video got all these views, right? And it's like, I wouldn't want to suggest that the way that you overcome your personal self-beliefs is like post a video that gets 100,000 views. That's not very like applicable to others. And honestly, I think that I would like to believe that I could have gotten to this place without that having happened. I don't know if that's true or not. But, you know, I mean, I think you got to surround yourself with good people who believe in you. You know, if you are struggling with these things, personal beliefs, I think changing your environment is so powerful. You know, and you know, maybe you can't afford to like move into a new apartment or anything, but there are lots of like subtle ways I think that you can change your environment, right? Like if you're always going to the same bar to hang with the same cast and crew of people and maybe the conversations aren't that inspiring, you know, maybe you could try going somewhere else. Go to a park next time, you know, go to a cafe that you've never been to before, strike up a conversation with somebody new. You know, there's all these apps nowadays too that aren't like dating apps, but they're apps designed to help you like meet new friends and stuff like that. I think that's awesome, man. Like as adults, it can be really hard to meet new people, but that's one way that you can really change your environment and change what's coming in, right? Because it's like, what's that saying? Like in audio, it's like bullshit in, bullshit out, you know? And so it's like, yeah, man, if like the people you're hanging with and talking with in your life, they might be great people. You might have love for them and all that. And that's cool. You don't have to cut people off. I'm not saying that. But if the conversations are a lot of complaining or a lot of like, man, work sucked again today. What else is new? It's like, dude, it's going to be hard to rise above that feeling of like, man, life is just kind of whack and that's the way it is, right? But if you get around people that are excited, that are working towards their goals, that really believe in themselves, you're going to start absorbing that through osmosis. And I really think that's the key.
Yeah, nothing changes unless something changes, right?
Exactly.
That's kind of interesting, though. I'm curious. You weren't going into this one with like, I hope this goes viral. Here I go. I'm actually doing this, right? It kind of like happened around you a little bit. And that's like shout out to putting good people around you. You can kind of stumble into it like that. But that's cool that like you took the leap with almost not even knowing it.
Yeah, 100%. I just thought I was doing a favor for my friend Jacob Mann, you know, who's the guy that this story I've told a million times, but that's the guy who made the video. So yeah, I wasn't like, let me start my career via YouTube, you know, it just happened. And I was like, holy shit. Okay. I need to get over myself. And yeah, you're right. I was around the right person. Like shout out to Jacob Mann. Here's somebody who was already building his YouTube channel and already building his audience and thinking about like, oh, how can I get more views on my videos? Here's a dope, engaging video idea featuring Harry Mack. Let me see if he's down. So like just by being in close proximity to him, it was like all of a sudden, I mean, yeah, it's everything, man. You got to be around passionate people who are working hard at their goals. The value of that is just immeasurable, Great question. Hell yeah. What do we got next? Shout out to Big E. What up, Big E? All right, Big E says, I saw your Australia shows in Gold Coast, Brisbane, and Sydney. Hell yeah. Thanks for coming through, dog. All great shows. Every one of them was epic, but the Brisbane performance especially was on another level. Hell yeah. Thank you. Can you describe the difference it makes for you on stage when a crowd locks in and flips the switch to bring a ton of energy? Is that something you immediately perceive on stage or only after the show finishes? Take a sip of water before I answer this awesome question.
Shout out Big E, man. 3 shows.
Yeah, first of all, props to Big E. God damn, 3 shows. That's incredible. Thank you very much. Yeah, the energy from the audience when I'm performing live. I mean, it makes a big difference. I've talked a bunch of times about how what I do is very energy dependent, right? That's no mystery. It's an energy exchange. You see it in my videos when I'm doing guerrilla bars. If I'm getting a big reaction, big energy from the people that I'm freestyling for, that elevates my level as well, right? I'm able to reach for more creative ideas. My brain feels more expansive. Everything just works better when the audience is very visibly excited about what's happening. And the same is true when I'm on stage. And, it fluctuates from night to night, right? There are some nights where, we hit the stage and immediately the crowd is just on 11, right? It's like the very first time I say, make some noise. It's like, holy shit, it's deafening, and there are nights where, and it's amazing when that happens. And there are nights where it feels like that never tapers, at the end of at the end of the show, we do this thing where for the last song, it's like an inspirational song. And so we have people like light up, pull out their phone, flashlights and hold those up, or lighters is the, of course, traditional way of doing it. And of course, that's been done a million times before, but it's a really heartfelt moment in the show. And so some nights it's like 100% of the room, it feels like, pulls their phone out and they hold it up for the whole 4-minute song, and then, there's other nights where maybe 80% of the room pulls them out, and that's great too. And by halfway through the song, it's dropped down to now 40% of the people are holding them up. Because you know what, dude? It's tiring to hold your phone up for that long. Like, I get it, like unless I was a super fan of whoever I was seeing, I probably would only hold it up for the first verse myself, right? So, and when that happens, and when the make some noise isn't deafening, it's just a solid level, that's fantastic too. And I, so it fluctuates and it's like that for everyone. And I'm really fortunate to say that like we've never had a show where we were like, afterwards we're like, yo, what the hell happened? Like it was dead out there. Like I've never had that. We've had a couple shows where afterwards I'm like, yo, they were hype, right? Like they were feeling it. So I was like, yeah, dude, they were hype. They were definitely hype, So a lot of it is my perception from the stage. And that's what's so interesting about doing this, right, is what I do is so energy dependent. And for better or worse, I am the type of person that really benefits from like my love language is words of affirmation, so when I see an audience like, yes, we're loving it, and they're showing me that visibly, I love that. I feed off that, right? But the cool thing about doing so many shows and sort of feeling the fluctuations of visible hypeness from the audience is it's helping me to learn how to sort of recognize that not everybody shows it the same way, right? And this is true in our videos as well. Like sometimes I'm doing a freestyle for somebody and they might not be that visibly excited during the performance because maybe they just don't express themselves that way, right? And that's totally cool. But then at the end, they're like, bro, that was amazing. And they say it in a way where that they genuinely meant it, right? And that's awesome, That's why I don't love when the comments under a video are like, yo, this person wasn't nearly hype enough. It's like, you know what? Maybe they just don't show it that way, right? And everybody's different and we got to be open to that. So I'm learning that too when I'm on stage. It's like, hey, just because the make some noise is not deafening doesn't mean that they're not engaged and that they're not enjoying the show. And, there will be nights like that too when we're performing live. Maybe the make some noise is not deafening, but afterwards, as people are leaving the venue, we hear people just being like, dude, that was insane, and they're just processing it in their own way. And the other thing I would say is my show is very unique in that 95% of it is made up on the spot, right? So like people don't know the words. And so I had to learn that too early on. I'd be like, dude, I'm doing this song and everyone's just kind of like looking at me. And then I was like, oh yeah, like they're listening. Like they're trying to hear what I'm saying because that's where so much of the value lies in my show. It's not like they've already memorized the words and they can just take that for granted. They actually have to hear it in order to hear it, you know? And so I think that's a big part of this as well. But yeah, in terms of like whether I perceive it immediately or only after the show finishes, it just kind of depends. Most shows have, you know, some level of sort of like peaks and valleys in terms of how loud or visibly excited the audience is. You know, there's high energy moments and then there's maybe more thoughtful moments where the subject matter is a little bit deeper or more contemplative, you know, and then that's not like people dancing and jumping and throwing their hands up, but there's still a certain energy that comes along with that. So yeah, it just depends. But I would say that there are some shows where immediately I'm just like, holy shit, this crowd is next level hype. And yeah, Brisbane was insanely loud. That was one of the comments too from Iconic, who shout out to Iconic from my team, who's on the side of the stage, like controlling the visuals. He was like, that was the loudest I'd ever heard. Like it was hurting my ears, which is a good problem to have for us.
Do you think there's a difference in performance? I mean, most of the crowds are just fire too, but like,
yeah,
I almost feel like when we have one of those nights that the energy is just different,
yeah,
it's almost like you're just kind of surfing along at that high level. And then when it's a little bit more of a fight to, hey, do I have you?
Yeah.
It's almost like you're like game face, like boxing, like, all right, I'm going to give all of this. Let's see.
Yeah.
I don't know. There is a difference there that I see sometimes.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. Like if I can't tell if we're connecting, I like go full force. I'm like, okay, I'm going to find out how we're going to connect. Yeah. Like there's a way and we're going to find the way, you know? And I think that's what's cool is like when it's already high energy, that helps me soar right away. But when it's not, then I fight for it. And in both cases, I'm kind of like getting the best out of myself.
Totally.
And I enjoy the fight. I enjoy trying to find out what's going to work. Like, how can I crack? And even if it's an audience that doesn't normally yell out, because that's just not how they express themselves, I'm like, there's probably a way that I could get y'all to yell out because it's so undeniable. It's like, you have no choice and you have to. And yeah, I like searching for that. And again, I want my live show to be undeniable to anyone. Like if you got dragged there by your eager boyfriend and who likes my videos and it's like, you got to come to this show with me, and you're like, yeah, whatever. Harry Mack. I don't know what this is about. I don't know about this. This is not for me, but I'm gonna go because I support you. Okay, cool. And you're out there. I would want my stage show to be undeniable to you, and I think that like. I have this like really deep drive to connect with the audience every time. And the thing is, I have to have that because it's fully improvised, you know? So it's like, hey, we only are on the same page here if I get us all on the same page. Like it's on me every night, you know? I don't have like big songs that people are all familiar with where we should, let's just play that one. They're going to fucking love it, you know? So, I want it to be undeniable, and sometimes I have to work harder to make sure that connection is there. But to me, the best performers in the world, they do that too, even though they're not improvising all their songs on stage, right? But like if we went back to like the 60s and saw like Stevie Wonder's band or something, they're also doing that. Like they're also like, no, this shit is going to connect one way or another. You're going to feel this. And that's why like the greatest performers of all time are so undeniable. It's in a different way. They're not improvising the words live and trying to make sure that the bars are like blowing people's minds, but they feel that pressure too. And I feel like maybe we've gotten away from that a little bit because there's so many tools to help elevate the show. You know, there's like visuals and lights. And I love all that shit. It's awesome. We use it too. And everybody should use that. But, you know, now there's like backing tracks and it's so based on the songs being so popular that you'll see that. You'll just see like the big hit comes on and everybody pulls their phone out to film that moment. And they're so hyped for that one moment. And that's what they came there to see. And like, they're almost like looking at their friends and yelling the words when it's happening. Instead of looking, it's almost like it doesn't even matter necessarily that it's happening live, aside from the fact that they can all be in this big room with loudspeakers experiencing it together. And that's cool. I'm not hating. But like, dude, I miss that energy of like, yo, this shit has to connect no matter what. We're going to dig deep and we're going to find it. And that's the most important thing, you know?
I've heard some performers, comedians mostly, I think, it's kind of the same thing. It's like you could be in a room at just absolutely killing. Everyone's dying laughing.
Yeah.
There's one guy to the left. you notice he's not laughing.
Yeah.
That's all you can look at the whole time. You're trying to get him to crack. You don't even notice how hard you're killing.
Yeah.
It's like this. It's like a artist, just almost like one of those flaws a little bit. It's like, man, enjoy it. You're killing.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, like you said, that's kind of how we get greatness.
Dude, I remember this one show, dude, in New Orleans, man. Like, there was this guy in the front that just looked so pissed. Like, at the end, and I saw him, and everybody else was so happy. And I was looking at this dude, and he was just completely straight face. I was like, what am I doing wrong? And I started going super hard. Yeah, like out of the corner of my eye. I was like, yo, I can't get this guy. And then the song ended, and then we were like, okay, I'm going to bring 3 volunteers up on stage. And then I realized he was the security guard there to like escort the 3 people on the stage. He wasn't even part of the audience. And I was like, oh, okay, word. That makes sense.
That's hilarious.
Like, yeah. So, you never know.
You never know.
Great question, Big E. Thank you. Let's see what else we got here. Shout out to Peter. What up, Peter? Does it take a heavy mental load to avoid swearing when there are kids in the street? Maybe you already have rhyme/setups at the ready to avoid swearing, but I've never seen you swear in front of kids. Thank you. Great question. Yeah, so it does take a heavier mental load, that's a good way of saying it, to avoid swearing, or really to put any sort of like limitation onto the freestyle. Because, freestyling and improvising is all about being in the moment and really committing to whatever idea naturally arises in your mind, right? Like that's what freestyling is all about. That's what improv is, right? So we're just in the moment. We're just letting it flow. Whatever idea comes to mind, it's that whole yes and, right? Grab whatever idea is there and just say it and commit and add on to it. And, the reality is like, we're all these like imperfect human beings, imperfect and beautiful human beings that are very complicated, that are having like 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, I read, which I'm like, how do you calculate that? But, yeah, I mean, 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And also there's some alarming research that says that like 80% of the thoughts are negative, which is scary. And 95% of the thoughts are repetitive, like you have them again and again and again. So that's a whole nother conversation relating back to the personal belief stuff. But, I mean, in any case, man, if you're having 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, not all of them are going to be like warm and friendly or like appropriate for all audiences of all ages, right? And so that's why when you first start freestyling or learning to improvise, like I really suggest that you do it in a very safe space, right? Maybe you're doing it by yourself, but ideally you're getting together with other people and you're doing this in a place where you're not like amplified to the whole neighborhood and it's just you and your friends and everybody knows who you are as a person and they know your heart. And so like if you say something weird or something like, what was that? Like you don't even agree with it, they're not going to be like, what's wrong with you, bro? Because they understand. It's like, we're making this shit up right now. We don't have the skills yet to like apply any kind of filter. And I don't think it would be that helpful in the beginning to be like, well, I don't want to say this. I don't want to say that. And obviously, we're not saying, you don't want to be saying like super offensive things, just stop the rap if something like that pops up into your head. But, we have all kinds of, Freudian slips and weird, like weird shit like that comes up in the mind, or random violent imagery appears and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's really funny, all these things like rhyme with each other that's the other thing. When you're freestyling, you're connecting things via rhyme. And sometimes the word you think of that rhymes, it's like, like rhymes with butt, and like tit rhymes with and all that stuff. We might need to edit this, but we should beat this actually. That'd be hilarious. But it's like, it's very easy to start going down this like downward spiral into the lowest common denominator. And early on, especially, that type of thing will happen and it's funny and it's weird and it's whatever. And it's just, it's maybe part of it. So yeah, eventually, while it's hard to apply filters, I think it's an absolutely essential skill for me to be able to do what I do, right? Like to call myself a professional freestyler, a professional improviser, to be somebody who sells tickets to events where I go on stage and I make up all the material live in front of people. This is one of the skills that I have to develop, right? When we talk about skills, traits, and beliefs, like this is one of those skills. And it goes for any professional improviser. Like, if you look at, let's say, a jazz improviser, like an instrumental improviser, at first their music, they're like, what's improv? And their music teacher is like, improv means you can play anything you want. And they're like, oh, for real? And they just start slamming the mallets on the xylophone, hitting any and every note. And it's awesome. It's awesome. They're smiling and their eyes are lit up and they're having so much fun just like randomly hitting notes. But it doesn't sound very good, right? It's not something that you would like buy a ticket to go see live. And then eventually it's like, okay, let's refine this a little bit. Let's apply a filter. You can play anything and everything, but you should try to have most of your ideas fall in rhythm with the song, right? So that you can align rhythmically with the other musicians that are playing with you. And so then you learn about rhythm and you learn how to play in the pocket. And then at a certain point, it's like, yeah, you can play anything and everything, but you should know that this song is in D minor. And then the bridge goes up a half step and is in, E flat minor. And so, again, you can play anything and everything, but you should at least know that so that most of your ideas can either be the correct notes that fit that key or intentionally be the wrong notes to create dissonance and rub by choice, So that's what becoming a professional improviser is in a musical context. And I'm sure this applies to comedy and theater as well, right? It's like you develop the skill and the ability to improvise within a form and to apply certain rules or filters to make the performance feel like it's at a professional level and to be at a really high level creatively and artistically. And so, yeah, I've had to learn how to do this. And swearing is really not that hard because like there's all these euphemisms. Like everybody's used to swapping out swear words because like, the parents don't want to swear in front of the kids or whatever. Or like it's not always appropriate to swear like in a corporate environment. So we already have like, you're trying to screw me over. I don't have time for this crap. Like that's, we have little subs or like when you're rapping, you can say ish instead of shit, ish is, and that's how shit sounds when you spin it backwards on a record. If you didn't know, that's where that comes from. Shit, ish. Shit.
I'm mind blown by that, actually. I did not know that.
Yeah, so, like, you can just say that.
It's got to be harder while rapping, though, right? Then, like, you don't want to swear in front of your parents because, like, it's almost a fundamental part of some people's, rhyme bag. And so, like, when you're really flowing, and to put this in context, we're probably talking, like, gorilla bars and stuff, right?
Yes.
It just seems harder when you're searching for words and you just are able to self-filter on the spot.
Definitely. Yeah, it is really hard. And it takes a lot of time to get there. And again, I would say when you're first starting out, don't even try. Just make sure you're in a space where you can swear. But yeah, for me, and addressing this question more directly, it's like I'm out in the street, in public, in front of a mixed audience, There's all kinds of people that are watching me. And I think one of the other big skills that goes into this is like social awareness, And that also is such a big part of what I do. Because if I'm out there and I see it's like a family, there might be a couple people on the side that are just, they seem like some real like hip hop heads and they're just like reacting to every bar stank face. I'm like, okay, they probably are down with the swearing, but then I see like a family and stuff and they're enjoying it too. I'm not the type of artist that wants to intentionally like create dissonance, and that's a choice. Some people do, and they lean into that, and that's awesome. That's great. It's a choice, but that's not natural to me. Like I want everybody to feel kind of like invited in. My shit is very positive. I'm trying to uplift people and make everybody feel welcome. So I wouldn't want to in front of the family be like, I'm a motherfucking, whatever. It just doesn't fit. So I have to. I'm very sensitive to it, and it's a sort of it's one of those. Skills again that I've refined over time, and most of it is happening sort of like subconsciously, like it's just firing so quickly. I'm sort of perceiving it subconsciously beneath the surface, kind of. It's not like I'm thinking like, okay, there's a family, I probably shouldn't swear. I don't really have time necessarily to have that thought so articulately in my mind, but I sense what would be appropriate based on the people that I'm rapping for. And yeah, you just want to be tapped into it, and you can kind of sell. It's like as long as you are confident in what you're putting forth, you can sell it. Like in the Miami busking video, there was that thing where somebody suggested D's nuts as the word, and I say it off mic, right? But I make a whole thing out of it. I'm like, yo, there's kids. Like for this next word, I gotta ease up. There's kids right here, so I'm gonna say. Nuts. And you can still hear, everybody knows what I said right there, including the kid, right? But it's like, I felt like that was appropriate too, like it's that's not that bad. These nuts, like, so what, it's like everybody gets it. And of course the parents of the kids are laughing at that too, so you get sort of, through experience, I would say, not even just experience freestyling, but just experience in different social situations with mixed crowds and audiences. You just start to get a sort of spidey sense for like, okay, like I can get away with this, but this, I'm not going to go here with this audience, and there's a way that you can do it, and you can be kind of cute with it and have fun with it. And you can play with that sort of dissonance and tension in a way that will feel really tasteful and appropriate.
It's dope, man. People really like watching that. Like, I think you made it sound way easier than it looks when we're watching the video.
Well, the hard thing is when it's like more complicated layers than that, like of filtration. Like, not swearing, that's fine. But I've been in certain scenarios, like in like corporate situations, maybe if I'm hired for like a corporate event, sometimes it starts to get wild with where it's like, oh yeah, and like here's a list of words that you can't say. Because like companies will have like their advertising policies, you know, that has to do with like competitors and just legal and like all these things that I'm not privy to at all. And like I get it. That's like their prerogative and they have to maintain these things, whatever. But sometimes at a certain point, if it's too much, I'm like, hey, I'm going to do my best. I think you all will be happy with the result. I think, you know, it'll be fine. I'll try to bear in mind this long list of like exact things that I can't say, but like, don't worry. I'm not going to like blatantly name your competitor. It always works out fine, but it does reach a point where it's like, okay, at this point, I feel like I got to write it. Like I can't improvise it. Do you know what I mean? Like at this point, there's so many layers of filtration that it's like, I don't know.
It's doable when you're like in that culture and you understand it, but to ask you to do that while just for a moment, hey, understand this whole thing we have going.
Yeah.
And then come off the top for 15 minutes. And then you can forget later. You're like, wait, who's our competitor?
Yeah, exactly. But great question from Peter. Well, shoot, I feel like we got time for one more maybe.
Tight. Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Sweet. All right, this one comes from, how do you think I say that name?
Benoit?
Benoit.
That's how I would go
Beautiful.
with it.
I think you're right.
Hope so.
Shout out to Benoit, if that is in fact your name. But let's see. Benoit says, I'd like to hear some more about your process with getting sober in relation to your art. I got sober right before COVID. Congratulations. And have used that clarity as an engine for creative productivity. With a head full of toxins, it seemed easier to just let go of perfectionism and get to a result. After 5 years of working more digitally and commission-based, I'm trying to find that more free-flowing vibe I had back in the day when I'd improvise art with some markers and paper. Your process has been an enormous inspiration. I'm very curious if you've also experienced a rise in self-bickering, like that word, and a drop in spontaneity after this transition to a clean lifestyle. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for this incredibly thoughtful submission. And I'm really glad that I've been able to inspire in some way, shape, or form. But it was really your choice to become sober, and you should feel really proud of that. And it sounds like you've had that going on, since COVID, so right around the same time as me. So congrats to you, bro. That's awesome. And it sounds like it's helping in a lot of ways, but there are still some challenges. So I think this is a really thoughtful question and something that I relate to a lot. Like, did I feel a challenge in getting in the zone after I stopped like smoking and drinking? Yeah, absolutely. Like, just being straight up, like, the problem with, you know, I've heard somebody say this, the problem with drugs is not that they're bad. The problem is they're really good, you know? And I should provide some context there. They're good at doing what they're supposed to do, and sometimes they're really helpful in overcoming certain things. Like, for example, like alcohol is a highly effective social lubricant, right? Like, it lowers our inhibitions and makes us feel less nervous. And that's why so many people use it when they're out on the town trying to meet new people, right? Like, it really does help with that. But of course, that comes at a cost. And you know, so with regard to certain things, like I was struggling with low self-esteem. So sometimes it would help me feel confident as an MC, or it would help me feel like, oh, I don't care what people think. Like, at this party, there's a cypher starting. I'm just going to hop in here and I'm going to crush the mic, dude. I'm going to lay shit right now. Sometimes it helped me get in that headspace that I wanted to be in as an MC, right? Where I'm like, yo, when I grab the mic, it's game over. I'm going to rip this shit, you know? And so that felt really good, right? To be able to shed the insecurities and sort of feel more confident. And like, I'd be lying if I said that being intoxicated didn't help with some of those things. Also, the nerves to get on stage, right? Like, having a beer or two before hopping on stage helped a lot with those sort of like nervous feelings. I don't think that, do I think that drugs and alcohol help me make better art? I personally don't think so. And obviously, you know, you have like legends like Jimi Hendrix who like all the folklore around that, like use LSD as a creative tool, right? And I'm not here to say that that's not true. That probably is true, and I think there's some validity to that, right? Or like RZA in the Wu-Tang Manual talks about how like marijuana was basically like a required prerequisite for like every creative session that they ever had. Like that was just like if they're writing or recording, they're smoking weed, right? And that's not uncommon in recording studios around the world, right? And or if you look at jazz, like it's real dark, the drug use, like in the 50s in New York. It's like Charlie Parker was like shooting heroin, and he was the best. And so people were like, it's the heroin. So now all of a sudden, like it's rampant in the jazz scene, which is hard for us to even imagine that there could be this whole scene of artists and creators like that were just, most all of them were doing super hard drugs, like heroin. But that is in fact what was happening. But, my personal view is that usually the idea that like, oh, I need the drugs or I need the alcohol or I need fill in the blank to make my best art, I think that usually doesn't hold up with closer examination. And I personally feel like it's usually more of a superstition, Like to me, it's similar to being like, yo, if I don't wake up at 7:27 a.m. and then meditate for 23 and a half minutes and then write 2.48 pages in my journal, it's just a wash. The day's over. I don't even try to be productive, right? So it falls into that sort of like superstitious area where it's like, well, I've always smoked weed to create, therefore like I need to smoke weed in order to create. And I think it's like you might feel better creating when you smoke weed because that's how you're used to doing it. But I actually don't feel like I personally feel like the clearest, most undistorted sort of channel to the muses, has come to me through my sobriety. But there were some challenges to get to that point. And of course, all of these things, although they, as I've mentioned, they can help quell the nerves. They can help you sort of embody that character that you want to embody as a creative. They come at a cost, right? And like when we're talking about Charlie Parker and jazz, like, dude, Charlie Parker died when he was 34. That's how old I am, which is crazy when I think of it. I'm 34. And I'm like, holy shit. And the craziest part about that is the coroner that did the autopsy falsely estimated that the age of the body was between 50 and 60 years old. So, like, that's where that leads. And people are like, oh, like, I can't play as well as Charlie Parker unless I do the heroin. And, like, yeah, there were recordings of Charlie Parker not on drugs where he was playing, like, more sloppy. But that's my thing is, like, that's probably just because, like, everything in his life was probably in shambles when he wasn't high because it's such an addictive substance. It's like it was probably hard for him to get out of bed without the drugs, let alone improvise on stage and play the saxophone. So I just think it's important to mention those things because it can be really problematic to fall into this trap of being like, oh, I need to do this substance or I need to have it this exact way in order to create. I think we're all capable of rising above that. And I love what you said here too about that since getting sober with COVID, you've had more clarity. And you've actually been using your sobriety as an engine for creative productivity, which is awesome to hear. But yeah, I do think that it's hard. It can be hard to overcome the nerves and to overcome the anxiety that comes around with performing. And I think just like with anything else, man, it's just experience. I also stopped drinking and smoking at the beginning of COVID. There were no live shows. Then when COVID started to come to an end and we started talking about going on tour, I was like, holy shit, can I get on stage and do this like cold sober? It was like, I was trying to think back, like, when's the last time I got on stage, like, completely sober, like, even, like, jazz gigs and stuff, usually, you'd order a beer at the bar or something like that and just, like, take a few sips and have that with you by the side of the drum set for the set. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's, I am not preaching that everyone needs to be sober. I don't believe that at all. It's just what has worked for me. But, yeah, it was so scary for me to imagine, like, damn, can I do this show? Like, can I get on stage completely sober? And yeah, the first show that we did at the Lab, at the Hollywood Improv, it was like probably the most nervous I've ever been for any show ever. Like in that green room, I was fucking terrified. And it was like small room, 50 people, first time ever testing my fully improvised show. concept. So I didn't even know if it would work. And I just remember being like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why have I signed up to do this? You know? And so, yeah, I'm sure it would have been a lot easier if I could let me just have a couple drinks, you know? I'm sure that would have helped me relax into it a lot more, but I knew that I wasn't going to do that, you know, because I had a bigger goal with who I wanted to be and what I was trying to accomplish and what I felt I needed in order to be that person and accomplish those things. So I didn't even consider it, but yeah, dude, it was terrifying. And then we did that show and I was like, holy shit, it worked. And I wish I could say that and then I didn't get nervous anymore. Nope. We actually did a doubleheader that night. So there was another show to do like an hour later. Again, completely terrified. Like almost like the first one didn't even have, oh, that was a fluke. Those 50 people liked it, but the next 50 people are going to fucking hate it. I'm going to forget how to freestyle. It's all going to fall apart. You know, did that show. Oh, huge sigh of relief. Oh, that one worked too. Holy shit. I hope I never have to do that again. You know? And then a month later, it's like, Harry, we got another show, bigger venue. And so on and so forth. And even today, you know, after all these shows, I still get nervous before shows, sometimes more than others. Sometimes not that much at all. You know, I'll be honest, like sometimes at this point, you know, I've done probably 200 of these shows. Excuse me. Let me drink some water. Yeah, you know, I've done probably 200 of these shows now at this point. So sometimes I don't get that nervous. And that's what I would suggest to you, you know, asking about how to get through this sort of transitional phase where you're not able to rely on those same crutches that you used to use that helped you get past the nerves and get past these sort of inhibitions and really drop into that flow state. I think it just takes time, and you just got to have grace with yourself. Don't expect it to all feel easy overnight. But if you just keep putting those reps in, man, slowly but surely, I think you'll be able to achieve a deeper level of flow state than you ever could with the substances. That's just my personal belief. You'll see how you feel and how it manifests for you. But man.
I was just trying to find this Rick Rubin quote. I believe it was in The Creative Way. I think that's what it's called as well.
Yeah.
Couldn't find it right now, but he has such a potent statement on this where it aligns with what you're kind of saying about artists have a way of kind of crediting the drugs for that first brilliant album.
Yeah.
After that, he, in his mind, like most of the time, it's kind of a lie you're telling yourself that creativity exists.
Yeah.
And I thought that was, the way he explained it was so potent. And he has such a history with people, and he said he wouldn't push people off of it.
Yeah.
But he has a way of like nudging them towards that truth. Like, I think that's super common with creatives.
Yeah. And, you know, it pertains to that question we were talking about earlier about like those limiting self-beliefs. Like that is a limiting self-belief to be like, yo, I can only make dope shit when I have this drug or whatever. That's not true. That's just a story you're telling yourself. You're choosing to believe that. You might have made some awesome shit when you were on that drug. Like that is true, right? But now you've taken that data and you've contorted it to tell the story that, well, I only make great shit when I'm on that drug. And it's like that now, it's like we can challenge that. So like, let's test that. Is that really true? Like, what if you couldn't have that? So you're not an artist anymore? What if it disappeared? You know, the whole stash got used up and there was no way to make more of it. Then what? Would you just stop creating? You know, so yeah, it's important to challenge those limiting beliefs. And
For sure.
The big homie Benoit is doing that. You're challenging it every day just by existing and staying sober and continuing to create. And it looks like we have a video here of you in your creative process.
Hey, come on, listen, I said, time to get creative, y'all know coffee is the drug of choice. Knocking all them sloppy demons off me just to hush the noise. Bless my inner child, spoiled rotten with a bunch of toys. It's the opposite, the muscles popping from a ton of roids. Natural growth, the Mack took an oath to leave no gaps in the practice of the raps that he wrote. Every chapter masterfully crafted, dog, it has to be dope. His dreams, fasten the hope, schemes act as the rope. Sharp bars off the dome, throwing darts from the melon. If the art is compelling, then your heart will start swelling.
That's fire.
I hope the artist gives us clearance for that.
Yeah, great soundtrack selection as well. No, but that was fire, dude. You're super talented. Keep doing what you're doing, man. You're absolutely killing it. And thank you so much for the thoughtful question.
Sick.
I'm gonna blow my nose real quick.
Perfect. That's a good spot.
Hell yeah. Thank you guys again for the awesome questions. If you want to send us your questions, y'all know where to go, man. HarryMackOfficial.com/flowstatepod. Send us your questions. I love answering them on pod. And another thing you can send us, if you are yourself a freestyle MC at any level, just getting started or well on your journey, and you want to send a freestyle for me to watch and give some feedback to, same thing, man. HarryMackOfficial.com/FlowStatePod. We have a community submitted freestyle today from the homie Josh B. So we're going to check this out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me spit it one time. Off the top of mine, I'ma make this shit shine. Yeah, I'ma get my voice to broadcast. Someone hit up Harry Mack and get me on that podcast. Communication just like Comcast. When I grab the mic and I start spitting all these bomb raps. Yeah, and now I'm rolling down the hill. Meditation gotta get my mind so still. And now I'm growing like the tree, cause my vocab is strong when I'm spitting all these threes. And I ain't never gonna stop when I grab the microphone at the stage on my drop. And I'ma fucking pick it up, I'm gonna kick it. When I grab the microphone, I'm always fucking ripping. Every time I'm rhyming, it ain't no luck. Especially when I'm rolling right up in my truck. Yeah, and now I'm heading to the office. I wish someone was here to throw out some topics, cause I wanna spit some new flavor. Josh Breen on the mic, you know that I'm your saver. But when I...
Hey! So hell yeah. Dude, well done, my friend. Well done. Josh B on the mic. Really enjoyed that one. Thank you so much for the submission. Yeah, lots of great stuff going on, man. Very smooth delivery, very smooth, rhythmic concept. Like your bars were in the pocket the whole time. And this is a note I've given to a lot of like previous submissions, is for people to work on really aiming the actual rhyming words to occur for starters, like at or near beat 4 in the measure, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, to put your rhyming words kind of consistently at or near beat 4. Obviously, that's not a rule, and I and every other great MC breaks that all the time. But as a starting point to sort of build trust with your audience and demonstrate that like you've worked at your craft and you're actually in control of what you're doing, that's a great way to establish that trust with your audience, right? And shout out to Josh, because you're doing that consistently throughout. Like your couplets were super solid and strong. And I really like believed you. I was like, yo, this dude knows what he's doing. At no point was I like, oh, he's falling out of the pocket. Oh, it's getting a little sloppy. And that has its own charm too when you're doing an off-top freestyle, of course. But yeah, I mean, like top to bottom, it just felt like you had really solid command of the instrument, which was really dope to hear. There was a really awesome like 4-bar rhyming phrase with podcast. I was like, damn, dude, bomb raps. I should have said that at some point. Because I always use Comcast and something else. But I think you had podcast, Comcast, broadcast, and bomb raps. I was like, what's he going to do for the 4th one? And then you were like, wouldn't I bless him with these bomb raps? Oh, shit, dude, that's fire. So, yeah, that was really dope. And lots of really solid setup punchline, but also the inverse of that. I don't know if you would call it punchline setup or just free flowing, but the opposite of setting it up and then going to the target, but like saying the thought first and then just having a dope rhyme for it on the other side is another really important skill. I don't know if I explain that, but like normally I talk about setup punchline, right? So if we're calling this coffee, then I would be like, off at the top, my flow's never sloppy. When I spit, I'm gonna wake you up like coffee. But then if we rewind, the inverse would be first I just say coffee and then I just go to some free associated dope rhyme. So like, yo, when I spit, I wake them up like coffee, never sloppy. Y'all need to back up off me. Could be costly. So that's the opposite approach, which is also really valuable. Sometimes I feel like I talk about setup punchlines so much that I don't give enough credit to the other side of the equation, which is equally valuable and worth developing, right? And you want to have a mix of both. And I felt like Josh B did have a mix of both, because I heard when you were clearly setting up what you were doing, like you were talking about something, I don't remember the bar, but like something, and I never get stuck, especially when I'm driving in my truck. I was like, okay, that's setup punchline. You're in your truck and you want to say that, so you're setting it up. But then there was another time when you were like, because right now I'm just driving to the office. And I felt like that was just your idea and you were stating it, right? And then you went to, I wish I had somebody here to throw me topics. So I felt like that was not setup punchline, but the opposite, and still very coherent and made total sense. Like, I get that when you're freestyling by yourself, you're just like repeating yourself a lot, relying on the same old licks. Like, damn, I wish I had somebody here to throw something out so I could really like stretch. But yeah, dude, that was killer, man. Really dope freestyle. And in terms of, I mean, I don't really have too much in terms of constructive criticism because I think you're just like, you're on your path, you know? So I guess what I would say is you could start exploring beyond now, because you've shown you have command of putting the rhyming word at or near beat 4. You can start stretching and exploring beyond that. What happens if you get a little looser with it and start putting the rhymes in other places? Like, one thing that's cool is like in the first bar of a setup punchline, you can put the rhyming word early. And so rather than having a perfectly balanced setup punchline where it's like 50% here and 50% there, like in your regular rhyming couplet, it's like both lines are the same length. You can sort of take that center bar and like scrunch it. So now it's like there's 30% here and then 70% here. So that would be like, rather than saying, let's get a different word, we'll call this candle, because that's, I don't know what else you would call it. This is a candle. But when I spit, here's regular, 50-50. When I spit, I drop it heavy like an anvil, and my freestyle's lit like a candle. Both lines about the same. But what if you just shorten the first one and then put more information on the back half? So you'd say, like, bring you to a standstill. Cause every time I spit and rip, my flow is lit like a candle. Make you understand. Cause when I rhyme on the MIC, y'all hold it tight up in my hand. So the first thing is just a little nugget, right? Like 30-70. So hopefully that makes sense. That's one thing you can experiment with. And then from there, like, what happens if you do 2 little short ones, you know? So you have more than just 2 rhyming sounds within the couplet. Now you have 3. So like 2 short ones and then a regular length. So it'd be like 25, 25, 50. These are just approximations. They're not exact. So for that, be like, if this is incense, then you'd be like, my flow is intense with the lyrics I invent, and my freestyle's lit like the incense. So 2 little short ones and then the long one. So you can experiment with that. Or 4 short ones, like for water, lead you to the slaughter. For me, it's no bother. You know the Mack gotcha. My flow is straight water. 4 rhyming sounds within the space of 2 bars, right? So it's like 25, 25, 25, 25. So that would be my suggestion, man. Start like getting outside of the box now. But what I really respect, though, is when you start doing that, you will have earned the right to do it. And I say that hesitantly because it sounds kind of elitist and like gatekeeperish. Like, you can go about freestyling any way that you want. To anybody out there that's trying to learn how to do it, like, go for it. You know, the world is yours. Like Nas said, it's true. Like, any way that you come at it is valid if it works for you and you feel fulfilled by it. In my personal philosophy, it's like you learn the foundational rules and then you start stretching outside of them, right? It's like learn the rules and then start breaking the rules. To me, that's a really awesome way to go about it because, again, like, you build trust with your audience by showing them, it's like, I understand the basic building blocks of how freestyling works, you know? And once you've done that, then when you start stretching out and trying these other things, you're doing it in a controlled way where you really understand what's happening. You know, you understand that you're stretching outside of the norm and doing something different, and you can do it with intentionality instead of just like accidentally doing strange and unusual things because you don't yet have full command of the instrument, if that makes sense. So that's how I think about it. So I think shout out to Josh B, killing it with the basics and now ready to expand beyond.
Love a good car freestyle. It's such a classic spot for a freestyle.
Yes, dude. Yes. And again, it's a callback to the first question. My first viral, semi-viral video was me freestyling in the car. So I love it.
Hell yeah.
Just be careful. I saw you checking your blind spot. At one point, I was like, oh, shit. You might have to pause the flow for this, but you did it. But yeah, be careful out there. Disclaimer, you know, don't try anything too complicated while you're operating heavy machinery. Hell yeah. And once again, man, to all the freestylers out there or people with questions, thoughts, whatever, or creative, you know, if you make some dope shit and you want to share it with us, harrymackofficial.com/flowstatepod. Send them in. We love it.
Oh, yeah.
Great community.
That's dope. That was a great one. I'm happy. We saw some really cool ones come in, so I'm excited to get to more of those. I got a video here for you to react to of yourself if you're down.
I'm very down, man. Let's do it.
It's one of my favorites. It's from the Atlanta Behind the Bars.
Hell yeah.
And that show was just crazy. That was on the US Odyssey.
Yes. Yes. Swords in the Organ. Oh, yeah, dude.
What part of the show is this? Like, what? Set it up a little bit for us.
Yeah. So this is the, frankly, terrifying part of the show. I have no idea why I've committed to doing this. We just did it 7 times in Australia, once at each show. It's this crazy segment. So basically, I bring 3 people on stage, and I tell them we're going to get creative together. So I ask the first person to imagine, we're in this beautiful venue. Imagine that disappears. It's a blank slate. You can take us anywhere in the known universe or anywhere in your imagination. Get as creative as you want. And I tell them, don't tell me where we're going. Just, when you have an idea, give me a nod so I know you have it. So we do that. For the second person, I tell them it's a costume party. You can temporarily let go of your true identity and become anyone or anything. Don't tell me, just hold on to it. And then for the last person, I ask them to think of some kind of conflict or like dilemma, right? Because I'm going to tell a story, and every good story has conflict and tension. So they need to think of some dilemma, big and daunting or small and hilarious, anything in between. Don't tell me, just give me a nod. And so at this point, all 3 of them have nodded to affirm that they have an idea. And then only at that point do I go back through one by one and say, okay, where are we going? And they'll say, we're going to the Bahamas. Who or what are we becoming? You're becoming the tip of an unlit match. People do get mad creative, which is awesome. And, well, what possibly could the conflict be? You really have to pee, but the line to the only bathroom is around the block. And so we get this crazy mashup of ideas, and that becomes the prompt for a 3-part story saga.
You can see people like feel bad. You're like, you told me not to change it, but
yeah.
My conflict makes 0 sense now.
Yeah. They always, almost always make 0 sense, which is the whole idea. Like, you wouldn't want it to be like, where are we going? Ancient Rome. Who are we becoming? The Roman Emperor. What's the conflict? We're being attacked. Like, so yeah, but this was a great one. I can't even remember what all the stuff was, but Swords in the Organ is a memorable title. Here, and that was part of it. So
you'll probably recover it here, but this is kind of like what it looks like when you were looking up at it. So we have like a character setting, dilemma. We have dolphin, Dubai, Swords in the Organ.
That's right. A dolphin going to Dubai, and the problem is I have swords in my organ.
Which was funny because the guy kind of like misspoke, or we had a miscommunication, and it was something in the middle that sounded like Swords in the Organ.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, we'll do that.
I think it was like a location in Oregon.
Silverton, Oregon, I remember.
Silverton, Oregon, dude.
Which wasn't a conflict, so really kind of we couldn't get there.
Right. Yeah, he didn't necessarily, shout out to dude. I guess he didn't understand the assignment fully. So somehow he said Silverton, Oregon. And luckily, I just heard it as Swords in the Organ, which is a terrible problem to have and perfect for our purposes. So anyway.
I want to show this moment, actually.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. The crowd here is so fun.
What could possibly be the dilemma this dolphin in Dubai is about to face?
Silverton, Oregon.
Swords in the Organ?
Silverton, the town of the silver.
Wait, what's the dilemma?
It's east of Salem by 15 minutes. That's where I'm from.
It's
no, but I need a dilemma. A problem somebody might face.
It's hilarious because now that I know what he says, I can hear it so clearly, and it sounds nothing like Swords in the Organ. I can only hear Silverton, Oregon, and then me saying Swords in the Organ afterwards feels like I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like,
dude, I was mind blown that you got that. Like, just I didn't hear what he was saying, but Swords in the Organ is such a creative, like, missed thing to hear.
Yeah, it worked out perfect.
And then you give it to the crowd, and they decide.
All right, wait, hold on, but let me just take a vote. Do we want to do world peace, or do we want to do Swords in the Organ?
Yeah, Swords in the Organ, obviously.
All right.
Awesome.
Here we go, dog.
All right, here we go. Let's. I don't remember how this. I remember that it was fun, but let's hear how it came together.
Wild ride.
Leaving the ATL right now, man. We're going to Dubai. I am no longer Harry Mack. I'm a dolphin, and I'm facing a real serious problem, dude. I got a sword in my organ, man. Multiple swords in a singular organ. Can you believe it? It was a precise swordsman. The most precise of swordsmen. I'll save it for the song. Jazz, you ready? Yeah.
Where my dolphins at? Make some noise. Where my dolphins at?
Jazz, kick it up.
Hands up. We need all energy in the building right now. Atlanta, y'all with us? Hands up. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Yeah. Said I'm a dolphin. Y'all know I keep it too fly. I'm about to swim all the way to Dubai. I got a problem. I need some support and swing. I got swords in the organ, a dolphin. Y'all know I keep it too fly. I'ma swim all the way to Dubai. I got a problem, I need some support and swing. I got. Damn, normally I'm living free. Normally I get to swim so beautifully.
Just coming in when the beat drops with "I'm a dolphin" is fucking hilarious, dude.
It like immediately establishes like, oh shit, this is happening. Everyone's like, how's he gonna do it? And then you come in so confidently.
This is back to that improv, yes, and full commitment. Like that's the only way that this type of concept works. You just have to be like, yep, all in.
Dog. How'd you get a whole building screaming that right away?
Shout out to Atlanta, dude.
Yeah, this was sick.
Yeah, that's great.
Damn, normally I'm living free. Normally I get to swim oh so beautifully. I got my own language and I get it done. I'm a dolphin, so I get to fuck for fun.
Hey.
Normally, yo, I live the best life. Me and my dolphin fans stay so hype.
Pause it real quick.
I can run.
Yeah, because dolphins are one of the only other animals, to my knowledge, that like has sex casually.
Yeah.
Like just to hook
pleasure,
up.
not just to,
not to procreate. Just wanted to explain that for anybody that might have been a little
We're
confused.
learning.
Live the best life. Me and my dolphin fans stay so hype. Plus, I can rhyme with the thundery freeze. We have a real party down under the sea. Get with it. Normally, I spit it in the pure way with the stingrays and the mermaids. Normally, there ain't nothing cool as this. True as bliss when I get to swim with a school of fish. It's amazing. They love the way I spark. I even make friends out of each and every shark. But now, trust me, this don't happen so often. Swing, what was that? Swing, damn, we got it problems. A dolphin. And I keep it too fly.
The acting out.
I be
is so
swimming
good
all
in
the
this
way
one,
to
too.
Dubai. Got a problem, I need some support and swing. Damn, I got and dolphin. Hell no, I keep it too fly. Swimming all the way out to. Got a problem, need some support and swing. I got swords in the. Damn, what the fuck was that? That shit hurt, yo, I'm being attacked.
Jazz killing it on the
What the fuck,
transition.
now it happened again? How the swing? Oh my god, now I'm never gonna win. Swing, swing. How many swords was that? Damn, what the fuck? Y'all trying to torture Mack? I was just a dolphin swimming, trying to run my dolphin errands. Now I'm a dolphin spinning, trying to get my dolphin bearings. What the fuck is going on? Where did they come from? Damn, 5 blades in me can't be undone. I look back. What the fuck that thing say? Oh, they ain't swords, y'all. They some stingrays. God damn, I get live again. All up in my organ, I got 5 of them. Oh shit, I know that they digging deep. Damn, they trying to turn me into a fricassee. Which organ was it? Now I'm trying to catch breath. Don't fuck. I just pray that this ain't my death. I need a fucking remedy. ATL, help me out. I need some good energy. Oh shit, I'm about to die soon. I think I need to put a lot of pressure on the wound. Matter of fact, get your hands up, move them towards me. Put pressure on the wound, trying to heal from these swords. Gee, a dolphin. I know I keep it too fly. Swimming all the way out there to Dubai.
Pause it real quick.
Got a problem.
Someone pointed out after the fact that they instead of stingray tails, they could have been swordfish.
Yeah, dude, what were you doing? Come on.
Yeah, I was slipping right there.
Dude, dolphin errands is hilarious.
That part is so funny. Yeah, dude. Wow. I'm glad we're rewatching this. I completely forgot about this. Is a clean one. Like so far, this is a good one. And I'm not saying that on some like, yeah, man. Like, but this one, as you might imagine, has a lot of variance. Like sometimes it's when I say it's clean, it's like it's staying very coherent. Like the verses are really staying in this world. Granted, I haven't gotten to Dubai yet. I don't know if I'm going to tie Dubai in more concretely. Like so far, I could kind of be anywhere, I think. But
like the narrative of it has been.
Yeah, the narrative is like pushing forward with good pacing and like staying on point. And that's one of the challenges with this song. And when I say there's lots of variance, like sometimes I spend the whole first verse just dealing with like one component. And that can work, but then it's like I have to do more work in the second verse to like, oh yeah, and this is where we are, and this is what the problem is. So you never know. Like this one, I'm very much out on a limb, figuring it out kind of live, which is the exciting and cool part of it. But
this is the type of stuff that cracks me up when we talk about like someone's boyfriend bringing their girlfriend. She has no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
and then you're just watching this and like. You have to pay attention to even follow.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This is so sick.
Hell yeah.
Keep it too fly. Swimming all the way out there to Dubai. Got a problem, I need some support and swing. I got a dolphin. Y'all know I keep it too fly. Swimming all the way out there to Got a problem, need some support, and I don't know if I can do this by myself. Start losing my breath, I think I'm about to need some help. Oh no, I can't take the pain anymore. Too many stores, wash up to the shore. I'm out there gasping for breath, all through my gills. Who thought my situation would be this ill? Shit was real, I got to speak my language. I reflect while I suffer from this anguish. My eyes are blurry, then they start to crack open.
I think dolphins don't have gills. They have like a breathing hole or something. Someone also pointed that out.
That's the comment I saw, actually.
Yeah.
Man.
Anyway, who would have thought that I could get this ill? I'm gasping for air through my air hole. But yeah, improv, full commitment. And that's what's so cool about improvisational-based performances is like, as long as everyone in the room agrees, you can do anything, right? And so it's like, it's your job as the performer to convince the audience that like, no, this is the new reality. Like inside these four walls, dolphins have gills. Like I just said it, therefore it's true, you know? And that's a really powerful aspect of doing improvised shows, whether it's what I do or comedy or theater or any kind of improvisation. It's just like, hey man, this is where we're going, get on board.
It's like you're yes-anding yourself.
Exactly.
It'd be funny if Jazz just like hit a record scratch. He's like, dolphins actually?
Yeah, and speaking of Jazz too, the beat selection is so on point because he's improvising as well in terms of choosing what he's going to play from his crate. And he's just painting the narrative so well. Like it gets dark, and then now this one feels like maybe there's some hope. So anyway, we'll see what happens.
I reflect while I suffer from this anguish. My eyes are blurry, then they start to crack open. I see a lifeguard, and he's been chosen. He's running down, and I think he's getting closer. Yelling, oh my God, boss, I got something to show you. He's on his walkie-talkie, last sounds that I hear. My vision's getting blurry, and it's not exactly clear. And I'm about to lose myself, I think it's about to stop. Think my life is about to 10,000 volts. Shock! Fuck! I'm back again, I wake up from a near death. Oh, my ears fucked up, and I can hear less. My vision's kinda red, I hope I find a way back into the ocean, cause that's where I wanna stay. The animal doctors are out, patching up my wound. They pat me on the back, they say, you'll get better soon. But if you wanna really do crazy well, we're gonna have to send you back to the ATL. They got doctors on the scene that can make you feel better. I said, get me to Atlanta, yo, that plan sounds clever. First time ever they put a dolphin up on a chopper. They brought me in a helicopter, y'all, I'm earning propers. Dolphin in the sky, from the ocean to the clouds. And I thought that I was gonna die, but not now. I'm about to survive from the people in Atlanta. Make some fucking noise for the freestyle scanner. I'm a dolphin. I know I keep it too fly. Swimming all the way out there to... Got a problem, y'all, I need support and swing. I got swords in the organ. Got a problem, y'all know I need support and swing.
So much happens in that last verse.
Damn, dude, that's awesome to relive that moment. What a moment, dude. That was so fun to relive that just now, man. Yeah, dude. That was a special one, man, through and through. That was well executed, if I do say so myself. And again, I always prompt this part of the show by saying, like, this is my favorite part of the show because I can say with full certainty that I have no fucking clue how to do it. And it's a little tongue-in-cheek because I have somewhat of an idea how to set it up with the chorus. And, you know, I know when the beat switches are cued to happen. And of course, I've practiced it and rehearsed the concept. But in some ways, it's true because, like, when I do a freestyle based on random words, I'm very confident in the processes that are involved. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know, like, all that stuff I was talking about, 30%, 70%, setup punchline, or the inverse, punchline setup, free flowing. Like, I'm very well versed in the tools that are at my disposal to, like, basically execute that effectively 100% of the time. Will it always be my best work? No, but I know I can always do it smoothly and at a professional level, right? But with something like this, it's much less known in my mind, even, like, the best way to approach it. It's much more exploratory. Like, I'm much further outside of my standard comfort zone as a freestyler and improviser. So it's like, oh shit, like, all right, like, let's see what happens. Let's see how it comes together. And that one came together nice. Yeah. First dolphin on a helicopter. Shout out to the fans in Atlanta going so hard. One thing that I wanted to point out too, on the more technical side, is like what makes this type of song or segment, I guess, so hard is that I can't fall back on my regular, like, filler of just being like, I'm dope on the mic, right? Because it doesn't apply at all. So much of, like, what I just go to when I'm, needing a mental breath to like connect the ideas is just some phrase about me being dope. And in this song, there was it was minimal. There was like where I break the narrative. Like there was one point halfway through where I said like, how many swords was that? Damn, are y'all trying to torture Mack? And I was like, oh, negative point for that in a way, because like it made sense, but it was like, I'm not Mack, you know, I'm the dolphin, right? But I'm so used to being able to use my name to make rhyming connections in those like split second decisions. And it worked fine. It's no problem, right?
It's like, oh, it's Dolphin Mack. He's
Dolphin Mack, why not? Yeah, maybe the dolphin's name is Harry Mack as well, right? But then at the very end, the last line, and again, it made sense from like the showman perspective of me like bringing the crowd back to like, we're here at this concert again. But my last line was like, something like, from Dubai all the way to Atlanta, make some fucking noise for the freestyle scanner. Which that, I'm like, well, now you're totally talking about Harry Mack again, you know? And as a last line, it actually, I think it like, once again, by luck or by, you know, the like beautiful miracle of these happy accidents that seem to occur more often when we put ourselves in these vulnerable situations on stage, it works thematically because it's like, this is the last line. Let me bring us back to reality now, right? It's like, make some noise for me and Jazz because we just did that shit. You know,
that's
we
how
just
I
did
took it.
Yeah,
you're like, yo, we made it. Like all of us just made it. You were saying,
yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. So it works, but I guess in an ideal, I don't know. I think it's pretty ideal how it played out. But in my mind, at least in that moment, I was probably like, maybe I wish there was something that kept me as the dolphin that I could have dismounted with. But anyway, that's just some peeks behind the scene in terms of like how I'm thinking about putting it together and what makes it kind of hard, you know, to do that type of segment.
Yo, that song is just kind of hot. Like you hit some like dope melodies. You already said jazz with the beats. Man, that one came together.
Hell yeah. Dope, man. Well, shit. Another fun time here in this beautiful blue velvet couch, the Flow State couch. No, but sincerely, awesome episode because of you, because of all of you. Thank you to everybody that's been supporting Flow State and watching. And we've been getting some really exciting guests on the pod, which has been super fun for me. And based on the feedback, we're getting fun for you guys as well to enjoy and watch. So thank you so much for being here. And huge shout out to everybody that submitted those incredibly thoughtful questions to inspire, you know, most of the content that makes up this episode. It's so dope that we have a community that's tapped in and really allows me to, you know, think about some of these things and articulate them. And I'm learning in the process as well, which is something that I really enjoy. And shout out again to Josh for submitting that dope freestyle. We're going to close this thing out the way we always do. I'm going to summarize this thing in bar form. So, yeah, let's get it. Yeah. Hey, yeah. Y'all know the deal. Come on. Yeah. Flow State, turn it up. Listen. Flow State, turn it up. Listen. Yeah. Even with the crispy vocal cords, Mack ain't never failing you. Still adjusting from the time zones in Australia. Can't believe fans around the world listen. On the mission from Sydney to Brisbane, all in between. They following me. I'm live on stage when I'm hollering free. Styles that go wild for anybody who be in the room. The speaker system booms, they can feel it vibrating when I plug into this live nation and start rhyme creating, making it happen. Back in the States now, back up in the podcast room, making great sounds. Yeah, I said we bring it together. I got the ill freestyles that they cling to forever. I'ma break it down right up off the tip of the brain, cause each and every freestyle that I spit is insane. I'm about to take y'all there. Y'all know I have no beef. These rappers bite, got my flows in they teeth, all gravy. Yo, I'm bringing y'all relief. We trying to get past the limiting self-beliefs. Yeah, cause y'all know they gon' hold us down, even though all of us were meant for golden crowns. I remember back when I couldn't live my dream, cause I was suffering from that low self-esteem. Telling myself I could never make that happen. Full-time, a career just rapping. To me, yo, it sounded like a pipe dream. I didn't think I could shine like high beams. I was holding myself so low, I couldn't envision myself going pro. Till we got them 100,000 views. And for me, it was just a casual move. I wasn't trying to make a career on YouTube. Not in that moment when I saw the results, I had to own it. I had to take it to the limit. I saw the life like a game and I knew I had to win it. Sometimes we need a little push from my friends. friends. How do we make that negativity end? We gotta surround ourselves with people that's inspiring. Spitting flames, someone better call the fireman. I bring it to you every time I rock it. When they be coming the lyrics, I know that they're bringing them right off the top. Let's go. Certified pro coming with the lyrics. I bring the rhymes that vibrate your spirit. No one coming near it. Limiting self-beliefs is cheap and they keep the peeps weak, so we drop them to the sidelines. I always improvise mine, feeling like there ain't no need to write rhymes. Yeah, I'd rather do it in the present moment. Every time I rhyme, the essence of performance is felt. I'm making you melt, the cards getting dealt. It's 52 bars that's hitting you hard and getting you scarred. You know who you are, I'm here to bring the remedies. When on stage, I can feel people's energy. Sometimes, yo, the noise, it is deafening. And I say, okay, we here, I'm about to wreck for them. Other times, I'm like, are we bringing it? Are they listening? Are they clinging, kid? And if not, I'ma fight for that. I mean, I do it on stage and don't write the raps, so I know that I can change it, adjust it, and find a way to leave even the most reserved crowds flustered. I'll have them yelling out eventually. I control the area mentally. I use my mind to empower myself, and that's another way in which I overcome problems with my mental health, getting past that. Cause life goes up and down like the NASDAQ, and so do energies from crowds. But regardless, I know we gon' turn this shit up loud. I got jazz behind me and we bout to do y'all proud, no doubt. Swing swords in my organ, but I pull them out and heal the wounds. Say it metaphorically, so follow me. Of course I will explore the beat and go much deeper, cause when I rhyme I spit aggressive like Nas on ether. But ain't no dissing when I'm all up on my mission. The only thing I follow is my own intuition, and together with the crowd we gon' push it right through the ceiling. So peep these lyrics I'm dealing, now peep the truth I'm revealing. Y'all know it's 1 in a million, I feel like 1 in 9 billion. I'm 1 to 1 when I'm getting this done. I be freestyling like we used to do in the attic just for fun. Now I get paid to bust this, son. It's such a crazy life. Yeah, I'ma do it big. Do it off the mental, off the top, off the lid. Popping up on street corners, yelling what it is. And I don't give up. Oops, watch out for them kids. Yo, I gotta be aware of the social dynamics. If I see your family, yo, I might panic for a moment. But then I remember there's multiple paths that I can take on this rapping agenda. Gotta find a way to censor, so I'ma pull it back. Instead of holy shit, I might say holy crap. It depends, I gotta find a way to properly ease up. These other rappers, they be hopping on these nuts, they wanna match it. I be the greatest in the sport, just like Cassius. Tisket the tasket, pulling whack rappers out the trash basket. Throw them in recycle, they shit is not too vital. Played out, so stay out the way now while I throw it down. Cause every time that I grab the mic, y'all know I spit shit that's so profound. I make them feel my poetry, and when they hear the vocal tone from a mile away, they probably know it's me. I said I flow with these when I'm on mission. People open up their ears just to listen. Had to face my fears, I felt collision, dissonance within from all of my addictions. Yeah, the inner voices, they would lie to me. So to get live with Freeze, I had to channel my sobriety. That's the path that I chose. From the dark soil grew a pretty rose. But it wasn't always easy and it wasn't automatic. When I first stopped using substances, I felt a lot of static, cause I had a habit. I felt as though the weed might bring the creativity that I fully need. But that's a negative belief that I just had to dismantle. Blowing out that candle. Yeah, let me see it in a different way. Let me see if I can find new paths today. Backstage at the lab, the Hollywood Improv. Now, I'm a rapper, I don't mean I've been soft, but on this particular occasion I was damn near tears, cause I was trying to face all my fears. It was terrifying, thinking, dog, I can't do it. Hop on stage sober, am I stupid? 200 shows later, have a new view. I can do it in public or up on YouTube or on the stage, but it just takes time. It takes experience to get fully aligned, and there's still so many traits that I need so that I can fully succeed. This life is not a breeze, indeed. We got to invest the proper effort. Slowly but surely your life gets better, and that's the message of positivity that I want to share for the people listening to Fly. Lyrics on the pod, y'all know that we span out broad. I'ma keep it real with no facade. To everybody listening, I hope that your day goes great, and thanks for tapping into flow state. Flow state. Flow state. To everybody listening, I hope your day goes great, and thanks so much for tapping into flow state. Yeah. Y'all know what it is, man. Fuck the day. I hope your week, month, and year goes great, man. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see y'all soon. Peace.